adjourned. It's 6:31 p.m. and I'm going to call the meeting to order. The first item up on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Could everyone please stand? The flag is to my right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm sorry, I should have let you guys take your stuff first and catch a breather. Right? Okay. What time?
6:31.
6:31. First item on the agenda we did. Next we have the appointment of Dr. Ogechi Woha Njoku, and we do have an edit to the resolution. Can I get a motion?
Okay, so the edit is, be it resolved that Dr. Njoku shall be compensated at a rate of $230 per day.
Yeah, so that would be just an edit.
Did you say 200?
230. Okay, can I get a motion?
I so move.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Excuse me. Next, we have the budget hearing. B1, open public hearing. Is there anyone, I need a motion.
I move that we open the public hearing on the 2025-26 budget.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
The public hearing is officially open. Is there anyone who has any public comment here?
No.
Oh, on the
No
public
public
hearing.
comments, no.
Is there any comments from the board members?
Should we
Questions?
wait for the presentation before we technically open for public comment? in case
Well,
someone comes in?
Okay, there's no item for presentation other than the attachment, but we have one. So please present. Do you have it on the thing behind us? Okay, sorry. Move my big head out of the way.
Is it the same thing that I have?
Yes,
Then I don't know.
you don't want a copy, okay.
Adonia Mans might be one.
Adania will need one. Maybe she can sit there. Want to put one on her?
Yeah, but trustee Mans is going to
There you
sit.
go.
Most likely.
I'm gonna
Oh,
move-
I do have, I'm sorry,
Am I-
nothing.
Oh, is your present?
No, you're not, you're fine, you're fine. Okay, so this is the 2025-26 budget hearing. We're going to start with the property tax cap. The property tax cap limits the amount a school district can increase the tax levy or the amount of property taxes billed to taxpayers, which has to be to the lesser of 2% or the rate of inflation. The tax cap calculation's main purpose is to determine the level of voter support that is needed for the school budget to pass. There is an 8-step formula to the tax cap calculation. You begin with the amount of taxes that you levied from the prior school year, which in this example, I'm showing you 24-25 actual tax cap calculation to the 25-26. So you begin with the amount of taxes that we levied in the 24-25 school year and multiply this by the tax-based growth factor, which is assigned to every school district by the Department of Budget annually. This measures the growth of homes and improvements in our district. Then we add in our pilot payments or payments in lieu of taxes from the prior year to this calculation. These are incentives that are given to a company through agreements with the IDA, or the Industrial Development Agency. Then you can subtract out the allowable capital exclusions. And the $35,075 is our share of the BOCES capital expenditures. To this total, then you factor in the allowable growth factor, which again is the lesser of CPI or 2%, whichever is greater, and that this year was 2%, so we multiply this by 1.02. Then any pilot payments that we expect to receive in the 25-26 school year are subtracted from the tax levy because this money is representative of taxes that a company would pay that was given those special exemptions. Then you can add available carryover money from the previous year, which is calculated by the Office of the State Comptroller. So for this 25-26 school year is a little more than $1 million, okay? That now will give you the tax levy limit before exclusions. The exclusions are any other capital expenses for the 25-26 school year which the district is legally liable for that we cannot not pay for. So what is included here is the energy performance contract payment, the bond anticipation note payment that we're taking on the Phase 2 construction work that's being done this summer, and our portion of the BOCES capital expenditures for the 25-26 year. This will now give you the tax levy simple majority limit, which you'll see here is $72,188,018. We could use that as our tax levy if we wanted for a simple majority vote, which is 50% plus one vote. Our proposed tax levy to balance the budget that we're going to present is $69,758,625, which is significantly less than what the simple majority would be.
Can I just ask quickly, just for clarification, you said the allowable growth factor is 2% or the consumer price index CPI. It's the greater of the two or the lesser of the two?
I'm sorry, the lesser of the two.
Thank you.
Yes, because CPI was higher than 2%.
So if prices are increasing faster than 2%, we're basically
We're
eating those
yes,
additional
we're
costs.
eating
So I
up
just
that
wanted to
difference,
clarify
correct,
that.
correct.
Thank you.
Yep, that's correct. So the superintendent's proposed budget for the 25-26 school year. We're going to start with the revenue side. The largest of any revenue component of a school district is the property taxes that are to be collected. As stated previously, we're proposing a tax levy of $69,758,625, which is a 4.06% increase from this school year. Other revenues that we budget for to balance our spending plan are the payments in lieu of taxes or pilots, sales tax revenue that we collect from Westchester, tuition that we charge, interest earnings, our state aid, which we are using the governor's numbers because the state budget hadn't been passed at the time, and some other minor revenues that we collect throughout the year, such as Medicaid billing, rental of property, sale of items, insurance proceeds, things like that. So we're proposing a budget of $84,158,498. And to that, we are proposing to add $600,000, which will be moved from the capital fund for money that was not spent on a project, bring it back to the general fund so that it can be reallocated to another capital project. So you'll see here that on the revenue side, we're adding it. You'll see on the expenditure side that we're subtracting it so that there will be no tax impact to the taxpayers. Yes.
I think they did come to an agreement, or at least an informal agreement, as to what the budget will be for the governor's office, for New York State Legislature. Do we know?
No.
Okay.
I have not seen any numbers that have been released.
Thanks.
No, so no, we do not know. So on the expenditure side, we're going to show this to you by function, which is this screen, then we're going to show it to you by object, and then by a three-part budget. So there are 6 functions in every school budget. The first is the general support. This includes the superintendent's office, the business office, buildings and grounds, data processing, legal expenses, insurance, fiscal advisor, and BOCES administrative costs, tax certiorari proceedings. Under instruction is the largest of all functions, as it should be, because that is where all of our teacher assistants, principals, the curriculum office, pupil personnel, athletics, and extracurricular activities are all budgeted for. Then we have transportation, followed by employee benefits. Our debt service that you see is going up, and that's for the energy performance contract, the bond anticipation note, are all budgeted here. We did not budget another $25,000 this year next year as we did this year, is we do not anticipate taking a tax anticipation note. We haven't taken that since I've been here, so I took that out knowing that we needed to budget the larger amount for the 2 debt obligations that we know we'll have. And then our interfund transfer, this is $425,000 to be transferred to the special aid fund, which is our federal funds when it is needed, because they are on a different calendar year than we are with the general fund budget. So we pay for some of their expenditures, and they pay us back for them, back and forth, due to, due from. And then there's $1 million here for interfund capital transfers, which we will speak about later. So again, you'll see here that we're proposing the $84,158,498 and adding or subtracting out the $600,000 that will go to the capital projects. If you break down the same budget by object, this now breaks it down by salaries and benefits, which are the two largest expenditures by object. Now, followed by equipment, which is remaining the same. Supplies and textbooks, you'll see that there is a decrease here, and that is we're showing partial savings from the energy performance contract. Energy performance contract will not be completed until next school year, where you'll see additional savings, but we were able to reflect some of the savings here in the 25-26 budget. And we have contractual obligations, our BOCES expenditures, debt service, which here this debt service is for the energy performance contract and the bond anticipation note, and our capital and federal interfund transfers.
Why do you put the savings, partial savings for the EPC and supplies and textbooks?
Okay, because the savings are going to be under electric and fuel, and those are categorized as supplies, but just by the code that they are budgeted under. So anything from 400 to a 449 code is a contractual code, 450 to a 469 is supplies. And in our budget, that's how they're categorized.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm. So what are we going to do with our capital interfund transfer of $1 million? We would like to propose to finish the remaining two segments of the water main project at Woodlands Middle High School. That would be the blue and red segments that were not included in the referendum that previously happened, and that is $600,000 to finish those two segments. The Woodlands Middle High School football field turf, since we are doing the track, it was recommended that we do the football field and the turf, and that has come in at $714,000. Then the Woodlands Middle High School auditorium sound and lighting, it should be, is to finish the remainder of the project of the money that we budgeted this year for some of that work. This will finish that project. So,
I don't want to interrupt you, I'll wait till you're done with the page.
okay, so the total of all that is $1,755,000. As I previously said, we're proposing $1 million transfer in the actual budget to help offset these costs. $600,000 is coming from Phase 1 capital construction that was not used. That's that $600,000 that you see as a revenue and an expenditure. And $155,000 will come from the repair reserve for the football field to balance all of this out. Trustee Mears?
Yes, so when we talk about the sound for the auditorium, it jogged my memory. And I'm posing the question to you, but also Trustee Warner can answer, I guess, if he knows. I know we talked about the awning to go from the art wing to the door, and it was too expensive. Does anybody remember what that was?
It was about $250,000.
250,000?
$250,000, I
Okay.
believe.
Since we have a new entrance coming, is it possible to have that area be an area that kids and staff go back and forth, as opposed to that door over there we have to buzz people in?
Oh, it's certainly possible, because that is already covered.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not
I think it's
completely covered, but it's covered, so yeah, that could
Would
be.
that, I mean, does anybody, go ahead. Does anybody know what it would be to enclose that area?
No, I don't know. We'd have to find out.
Not like a wall, but maybe the glass, the same type of glass that we have or whatever.
We'd have to find that out.
I just wonder, since it's already covered.
Mhm.
Yes?
I know when all of this was discussed a year or 2 years ago, don't remember the time frame. I know Mr. Smith was looking at the front as the transition point for the art wing, because security would be in that area, as you're suggesting.
Mm-hmm.
But because that was so far out, we never, through facilities or anything, we never price range for there, because there's a couple of things that might need to happen in the front, including a potential ramp if we want to use that door as opposed to the side door for ADA access. But I know that he was in favor of using that. He was in favor of using that front entrance for the kids transitioning, and
But if we made that the kids transition, why would we need a ramp?
Handicap accessibility.
Well, they could still use the back door if needed. It's not like we're sealing that door, right?
right, no, I'm conflating two things that could potentially be done over there. All I know is, to your point about what we could do in the future, and that it's not part of this budget, is Mr. Smith is already considering that as a transition point for the students, and perhaps as part of the walkthrough for next year, by that time he'll consider his options and make a decision. I don't know.
Okay.
And just real quick, once we transfer the 155, how much will be left in the repair reserve? Do we know?
633.
Okay.
That's repair, not,
It's approximately.
not
that.
capital.
Not capital. It's around that, if I did my math right. It's 630 something, okay? So in New York State, school districts are required to present the budget in three components: the administrative, the program, and the capital. The administrative component covers the costs related to general operations of the school district, including office expenses, salaries, benefits for administrators and their offices, data processing, legal fees, property insurance, those administrative costs. The largest of the three components is the program component, and this includes covers expenses related to the educational programs such as teacher salaries, pupil personnel services, supplies, and transportation costs. And then you have the capital component, which covers expenses related to physical assets such as school buildings, equipment, and this will be where we include our debt service on buildings and facilities costs. So what would the impact to the taxpayers be? In this example, you'll see that on an average single-family home, as provided by the Town of Greenburgh Assessor's Office, this example shows that the average family home assessment has increased by $70,741. This sample tax bill shows that for the tax levy proposed, the increase would be approximately $433.35, which, if you see at the bottom, breaks down to $36.11 per month, $8.34 per week, or $1.19 per day. A contingent budget, which is, in the business world, is bad words. Should the budget be defeated, the board would have three options. You can put up the same budget in June. You could modify this budget and put it back up in June, or you could adopt a contingent budget. In a contingent budget, there are certain items that cannot be budgeted for or would have to be removed. You'd have to remove equipment, rental or lease of any office equipment, salary increases that are not covered by a collective bargaining agreement, capital interfund transfers, public use of school facilities unless a fee is charged to cover costs, non-essential maintenance, and all non-ordinary contingent expenses.
What are salary increases that are not covered by a CBA?
That would be anybody who is not part of a collective bargaining agreement, such as the confidentials.
Okay, we'll talk
Yeah.
about that in exec session, okay? Because they're not part of the CBA, but they're in an agreement.
But they're not an
like
organized
CBA.
union, right? So just as a reminder, the budget vote is May 20th from 7 to 9 at the Woodlands Middle High School, which is gymnasium, excuse me. And if anybody has any questions, they can email me at budget@greenburghcsd.org.
Good.
Just out of curiosity, have we gotten many questions
Not
this
one.
year?
Not one. I usually get one or two. I haven't gotten one. Nope.
Hopefully that means people are paying attention and are happy.
Just as good feedback, I was at Bailey today for teacher appreciation and the signs were up and I saw parent volunteers looking at it, I saw students looking at it. And so I think the visuals were awesome, and I think really, really helpful, and I think it gives people confidence and comfort to do it. So thank you for you and Mr. Police doing that.
And I have received emails saying, hey, do you know if the federal government, if down the line, is going to have any negative impact on our funding for next year's budget? And
No idea. Still have no idea.
so that's what people are thinking about.
So
Okay.
we could say that people should continue advocating with their legislators to support things like school lunch programs and Head Start and UPK and all those kind of lovely.
Well, in
Medicaid
the
billing.
governor's proposal or in the budget is breakfast and lunch for students.
Right.
Yes,
So,
But that's
But-
hard to sustain.
right. The question is, will it last more than a year if that's our game? We were discussing that a little last night.
But the answer to their question is, no, we don't have any information. No, we can't.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns about the budget? Hearing none, does anyone want to make a motion to close the public hearing?
I move that we close the public hearing on the 2025-26 budget.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is C1, introduction of new hires. Ms. Pineda, do we have any new hires?
Yes, we do.
Oh, we do?
Carolyn Rivera.
Great, wonderful. Hi, Ms. Rivera. Please come, join us.
Yes,
Tell us who you are, please.
my name is Caroline Rivera, and I have the pleasure of working here in the middle high school in this very building. I work with the 8th and 9th, well, 8th and 1 section of high school with mixed levels, so 9th through 11th. I have been teaching for about 7 years, so kind of little dabble in different levels. I was teaching in different districts, and when I found Greenburgh, and I'm super excited to be back. And we are currently getting ready for our final, which is going to be coming up very soon. The kids are very, obviously crazy because there's so much going on. But we're trying our best to really get them to where they need to be, obviously, and getting them prepared as much as we can. So we're building strategies, but it definitely feels like it feels right at home. So I'm very excited to be back.
Tell me what you teach.
It's Spanish, sorry.
Wonderful.
I left that out.
Thank you. Okay. Well, thank you. Welcome. And nice to meet you. And our public is meeting you, so they will hopefully have you as a teacher as well when the kids are here. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome to Greenburgh.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have item C2, discussion 25-26 Board of Education meetings. Trustees, you will find in front of you a calendar that has the date, not the same calendar. I know it brings trauma hearing that word. Not the same calendar we had before. These are our Board of Education meeting dates for the 25-26 school year. So please review them.
I don't have it in my packet.
No, but do you
No,
have,
you
should have one
have
of
a
them?
copy there?
Oh,
yeah.
just here.
Yes, good, sure we go. So please look at them. If there's any questions, now is the time to ask, but please look at the dates. Think about how things flow specifically. I will draw attention to your thoughts on spring break, holiday breaks, when we come back, when we have to plan meetings, etc. These are just plotted out by date. They're not necessarily taking those things into consideration. So we do have some flexibility with that if it falls next to kind of holidays or weeks off, etc. Trustee Valley.
A couple things. First, just a note to Ms. Pineda to please change July 1st to be a blue day. It's a regular meeting, the organizational meeting. The most controversial of my suggestions will be September. Right now, the first day of school is Tuesday, September 2nd. And our meetings are currently put at the 9th and the 30th. What about considering the 2nd and the 16th? Because we may still need to finish up some hiring at the beginning of the year.
So next year,
just gonna
5 out of
throw it out
7
there.
of us, you will no longer be a parent of the district, but
Yeah.
5 of the 7 of us will have a first day of school.
Mhm.
So I would say no, but other people may have other lives and situations and they may be able to do it.
So I'm throwing it out there for discussion.
Propose an
Sure.
alternative. I agree with President Mayers. I don't think we should do it that day. I could maybe be swayed for the 9th and the 16th for that reason, so that we could capture more hires by doing back-to-back. I don't love back-to-back, but it might make more sense from a keeping things going at the beginning of the year perspective, but I don't think we should meet on the first day of school.
Also, we have to take into consideration our new superintendent, Dr. Njoku. We will have a new business person, and they're going to be opening schools that day, and then we're going to keep them for a meeting. I just think that's cool.
Well, I don't know, we could ask everyone's opinion.
Is there any reason we couldn't move that first meeting to Wednesday or Thursday instead?
I don't want a meeting the first week of school at all, to be honest with you. Well, I'm one person.
Well, let's see, what about moving the 30th but not moving the 9th?
That's what Trustee Jacobson just suggested.
So do you want to move the 30th to sometime in that second week, the week of the 15th and 16th, but not have it be on a Tuesday? Do you think we buy anything for ourselves by that?
What I worry about is most of the back-to-school events are not the first week. They're all the second or the third week of school, and that's,
And do you know why that is? Because everyone's stressed with going back to school. It's scheduling, getting the kids to sleep, getting your schedule back together in the house. The teachers are all trying to get back to school and their schedule, their personal lives, our administrator. Why would we do that?
I just would hate to miss a back-to-school night.
Right, so we set our dates and then they do the back to school nights. They do around our dates.
And I'm just remembering my history as a parent, that the first day of school was actually, and maybe this is just me and my family, but it was the day before the first day of school, and then later that week, after a few days of the excitement and passed, that were more stressful than the actual first day of school.
Oh, then that.
But I don't know if our administrator has any comments, or if other people, if you all are saying it's, the first day of school is a bad timing. As far as what the two of you are suggesting, as far as, because we do have back-to-back September 30th, October 7th. So what you guys are saying about putting the September ones more back-to-back, that's a good middle ground, I think, as far as having meetings to get people hired as soon as possible, if we aren't complete over the summer.
I mean, first of all, we will have special meetings in the summer if needed. We can call them to hire people. So that's an option.
I think a comfort might be that I believe we have mechanisms in place in the event that we would need to hire an emergency, you know? So I think that could assist with keeping this the way it is.
And Trustee Mears, to what you were just saying, I'm remembering that for a couple of years, we've had people pull out the week before school as well because they
Yes.
changed jobs. So I'm thinking more of that scenario rather than us not having done our due diligence from now until
And the
August.
superintendent can hire people. It's not like they can't. Trustee Jacobson?
So just for a point of reference, this past year, there were several back-to-school nights the week of the 20s, mid-20s in September. There was 2 the week prior. So obviously we have a couple days off that kind of interfere with that, but it wouldn't be out of the norm for back-to-school nights to be towards the end of September.
They do the schedule around our.
Right, I'm just saying, like, it
So they're gonna
hasn't,
pick.
it's not like it all happens all the second week of school.
Yeah. They see our schedule and then they pick around that. The principals, I guess they work together to pick. I don't know how it kind of works, but. Okay.
Should I move on with my other suggestions, or did we?
Does anybody
are we
strongly
staying
feel
as
like they
is,
want
or-
to? So I say stay, you say look at some other options. What do you want to do?
Either one works for me.
Okay, we'll come back
I
to you.
didn't realize we were voting,
Yeah,
sorry.
well, we need to give a consensus so we can either move on or make a change. What do you feel like you want to do?
I think that some families plan specific things for the first day of school after the first day of school.
Okay.
But I do know that
hiring.
I'll probably have an open house somewhere else.
Okay. Mr. Nance?
I don't know.
We don't want it on the second.
Okay. So we're,
Stay.
okay, so we're gonna leave it.
Yeah, we
Okay,
can leave it,
all
that's
right.
fine.
Next one?
So 9th and 30th.
9th and 30th, yes.
We'll have it back-to-back 30th in October, so.
We will have back-to-back. And if we need, the superintendent can ask us to meet, or the superintendent
Is
can
there no
hire.
working session in November?
It's on the 4th.
It's on the
Yeah, it's
4th.
on the board.
It's a double color.
Oh,
I have two more suggestions.
Yes.
One is January, changing it to be the 13th and 27th,
Mhm.
so that we're off for 2 weeks, so that it's not, we have a meeting the Tuesday before we're on break, then we're off for 2 weeks, then we come right back to a meeting. I don't know that much business will have gotten done in between
Right.
for time, so that's why I'm suggesting the 13th and 27th. That also avoids us being in a meeting
Right.
the day after
Crunch.
Monday.
Yeah, crunch.
And the.
Return after 2 weeks.
And then my second,
27th
the
is
third,
the
the last
third.
suggestion would be February 10th and 24th.
Before you go
okay.
there, Dr. Njoku, what are you thinking about what she says about the 6th?
I don't have any thoughts on that.
Mm-hmm.
I think mine was more of the September.
What was your concern about September?
September, keeping it how it is.
Oh, keeping it, okay. Okay, so but
So I'm
after
proposing.
we're out for 2 full weeks, and then
January.
back for 1 day, do we want to have a meeting?
I think that for this, that for January, again, I say that we have mechanisms in place
Mhm.
with, in terms of hiring and such, so the 13th and the 27th are,
Is
is fine, but then I would go with the 10th and the
Yeah,
24th.
13th, 27th, 10th, and
Move the
24th.
3rd
That
to the
works.
10th.
Yes.
That works.
Okay, that's all my suggestions. So we're changing January, I hear, I hear consensus.
27, 10.
All right, so in January, you guys said, scrap the meeting on the 6th,
Yes.
because we're coming back from a break, right? Yeah, you gonna move it. Same thing happens in February, if you move it the 3rd to the 10th, right? Like, or, no, the 24th. See how we have that
So
break?
the
from
20, the
yeah.
24th is right after a break, but
Yeah.
what she was saying is there's 2, we have a meeting on the 16th, then they'll have 1, 2, 3 days of school.
Hold on, wait a second, hold on.
December, sorry.
Okay.
In December, we meet
Got it.
on the 16th, then it's 3 days of school. Then 2 full weeks out,
Yeah.
then 1 day of school. So there's only really gonna be 4 operating days before we meet again.
Okay, so I feel like the same happens that last week in February, where, you know, you come back on the 23rd and then you're having a meeting there too. Does that, would you have a lot of business in between that time?
That's true.
Can
We'll
we just
have
drop
had-
the meeting?
but
Yeah,
we'll
can
have-
we just?
But we'll have had like a month and stuff, you know, then we're back in the flow of the regular monthly stuff. We'll have had multiple days, and yes, we'll meet on the 10th, but
I think February, March too is a pretty busy time as far as like budget setting, and that's when we're doing the tenure conversations and stuff. Yeah, that would not, we can't drop a meeting. But moving it forward or back, I guess by this point will be difficult, but I would agree with the, after the 2 weeks off, because it'll just be a real big lag time.
Okay.
The business offices are open during that, some of that time, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Some of the days.
Not all those days.
Okay.
I guess I'll have to look to figure that out, but okay. All right, are there any more concerns, comments, questions about the agenda? Ms. Pineda, in June, we have 3 meetings. So in June of this year, that's not on this calendar, we're having a 3rd meeting in the last week of June. So that's why the July 1st, or the second to last week of June, I gotta look at the calendar. That's why the July 1st meeting is a regular,
Got it.
yeah.
Yep, I will update that.
So that
so
would be
to that point, if we look at June, June 23rd is put as our work session. Should we consider the 30th, which would be before the July reorg, or leave it at the 23rd?
But it's the 24th.
What?
Now, this June or next?
No,
Oh,
for next year,
Next year,
2026.
yeah, she's saying, do we move that, or do we have them back to back?
We'll be back to back to back.
Yeah, either way, there's gonna be
Yeah,
one
either way,
back to
one's
back.
gonna
I
be
just don't know
back
what,
to
if it matters to anyone.
So it's gonna be June or July?
I'm 50-50 on that myself. so everybody-
I say leave it, because when's the last day of school, is the 26th? So let's leave it before the last day of school.
Okay.
So reorg can't be any earlier than July 1st.
Correct. And it can't be any later than that.
And theoretically, we could do it July 1st, the Wednesday. It'd be stupid to have it on the 30th. If we're gonna be, if people are gonna be on vacation from the 4th through the whatever.
Listen.
I'm projecting ahead too. But that's what we're doing.
Okay, any other discussion about the calendar? Any other concerns, comments? No? Look how quickly that, yes?
It's not, it's just an edit. On the June calendar, we have 26, 27, and 8. So it just should be 20.
Oh, 28. Yeah, what happened to that number?
I don't know.
It kind of walked away, okay. All right, so we'll move on. That's the quickest calendar discussion ever. Okay.
So I'm penciling in July 1st next year as our reorg meeting, by the way.
No, next year?
Because if people go away for July 4th weekend.
Who's going away?
I don't know, people do.
I know, I'd like to.
It'd be nice to get away.
So everyone just penciled in July 1st for the reorg meeting.
Okay, policy review, C3, next item. I'm going to turn the meeting over to my Vice President, Chris Bell.
Okay. Yes. Yes, okay. Okay. We've had some policies that were looked at by Dr. Iverson and the admin team and then passed over to legal for review, and now they're on our plate. So the first one is, to start with, the policy 3271, solicitation of charitable donations. We have both Erie 1's proposed version, dated 2024, and our current version, which you'll see labeled as GCSD.
Yeah, was there a recommendation for one versus the other?
Governance and policy did not get a look at these ahead of time. I just looked at them earlier today. I read through them. I did like the new version. It seems a little more generic and clean. But, and I believe administration did not.
Why is this on here if we didn't get to look at it?
Because governance and policy doesn't look at them all the time. We've had many months where we don't
But
look
you
at
just said
them.
admin didn't look at it either?
No, they did.
Oh.
They did before they passed it over to legal.
Oh, then why'd you say admin did not?
Because I'm trying to find the notes, and there are no notes here. I will assume then that they're proposing that we go with Erie 1, or it's up for our consideration. Our current versions say things, well,
Okay, so there are things in the Greenburgh version of the policy that look a little more, I guess, liberal in terms of permissive. So the one thing that I noticed is about the third or fourth paragraph down from the in the Greenburgh version. Schools and parent associations are authorized to raise funds by use of sales and other fundraising activities on school grounds, subject to the approval of the school's principal. Proceeds from school-sponsored fundraising activities shall accrue to the school's treasury. Proceeds from parent-sponsored fundraising activities to the parent association treasury. So, do we have any equivalent to that in the Erie 1 BOCES version of the policy? There are a few things they say, no, you're not supposed to do stuff, with the exceptions of arm's length transactions and fundraising activities and indirect. Right, but it doesn't say who authority.
Right, it's prohibiting solicitation during school hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's some exceptions for fundraising, like you said, arm's length, et cetera.
Yeah, but I think this was probably written.
And for what you're saying for parent organizations, I think that the paragraph in the new version that starts with, the board will ultimately decide which organizations can solicit donations and for what purposes, as long as they comply with the terms of the policy and the rules. And I would say that probably also falls under the facilities use request, which does have a section on there about, is this a fundraising activity? And that facilities use permit is signed first by the building principal before passing up the admin chain. So
I'm going to say, I think that the reason why Greenburgh's policy was written this way is it's a way to show our individuality and our value system. So I think Greenburgh values their PTAs and their school and parent associations, and that's why they put that in there. I think they have been very clear, and we have been very clear over many years that we value our PTAs, we value our parent involvement, and I think that's why they made that specifically about the parent-teacher association. Erie 1 is more of a general thing that is happening across the state, like whatever, you know, a very general rule. I think this kind of drills down to be very clear that we support parent and teacher associations. They're not just any organizational group. They're an important group that the district values. So I think it's a matter of whether or not we want to show our value system in the way that we word our policies.
So we could put a PTA specific sentence in the suggested policy. I'm going to say that the way the suggested policy is written, it doesn't prevent fundraising activities such as arm's length transactions, which would cover like your scholastic book fairs and your school stores and things like that. So it's not preventing, the new version of the policy does not prevent those activities from happening because it's in receipt, oh my goodness, sale of goods as opposed to please give me $5.
Right, it makes it general, it's anybody. Greenburgh's policy makes it specific and says, generally, but specifically, we have schools and parent associations that they aren't authorized. So there's no question on whether or not we're talking about parent associations, where that could come up later in some future board somewhere could say, well, I don't really care for this PTA situation. We're making it known from the board level that we support our PTAs and we value parent involvement.
Okay. Does anyone else have any other comments on this particular policy?
The other paragraph that looks specific in our existing version, all outside groups must obtain a permit from the director of facilities to use a school building for public sales or similar events. Applicants are responsible to adhering to all board rules. Do we have an equivalent?
So I'm going to say that goes under the umbrella of falling under the rules. We can specify, well, first of all, the director of facilities is not the correct person to submit a facilities use request form to. So that would need to be cleaned up under whichever version of the policy we go with. Right now I'm thinking to suggest that I take some homework from here and synthesize the two, but I'd like to hear what other trustees have to say with your permission.
Yeah, no, sure.
Yeah.
Trustee Long?
I like how the Erie 1 version reads. It's much more understandable on a basic level. Ours jumps around a little bit, so perhaps we could send it back to committee and blend the two in some manner.
So the reason I suggested I take some homework is the committee does not have a meeting scheduled. We're done with our meetings for the rest of this year. So we could either create another meeting or I take some homework and share it back out before we go back to the full board, whatever my fellow committee members think. I agree, I do like this organizational structure because I felt like I was going back and forth. So I'd like to work on a synthesizing the two of them together.
You want it to look more organized.
Yes.
Yeah.
Trustee Jacobson?
I agree with the structure of the Erie 1. I think to Trustee Mayor's point, there are times where the lines feel blurred between what PTA is doing and what the principals expect. And so I do think that might be helpful to have it more explicitly clear, especially as PTAs turn over so much and there's a lot of new people constantly learning, and I think having clear boundaries can be helpful.
And just to be clear, the organizations are not, aside from where you read parent associations listed here, it's not PTA per se. We have booster clubs, we have other groups that are in our buildings.
I think
And
that the clarity
club
can be
doesn't
helpful.
violate anything they would do.
Right, I mean,
Yes.
and we have outside groups that aren't necessarily associated with the district. So we have to bear that in mind as well. Trustee Long?
I have a question on the Erie 1, specifically the paragraph that's below the bullets. It says the board will ultimately decide which organizations and groups. At what point do we decide that, and does it really belong in our policy? Because I don't recall any point where we've reviewed which organizations.
And I would say, is it the board or is it administration?
It's definitely the board, because we have to decide which can solicit charitable donations in
But
our
we
district.
don't have any process, we're not part of the facility use
That's-
request approval process.
Well, we should see the facilities use requests. I know we've asked for them, so we do get a copy of them, right? Don't we get them, Ms. Raymond, if we ask for them?
No.
We asked, but I don't have
Yes.
But not as a,
a report.
Process.
Well, maybe we should be seeing who uses our facilities.
You get a report, but you don't see the actual facility use form.
Yeah, I haven't seen a form, I see a report.
So,
Do we really want, like, if a Girl Scout troop uses the school every week, like, you
the
wanna
board
see
will
all
ultimately
those
decide
fault
which
lines.
organizations
That's
solicit
one thing for the whole year.
charitable
Possibly.
donations. It's not which groups
No,
are
I do
using,
exactly for the
so
counts.
I think everyone's mixing things up, because it's not who's using the facilities. It's the board will ultimately decide which organizations can solicit charitable donations and for what purposes. That is different than who's using the
on,
facilities.
but on school property.
Yes.
Is the,
So we want to
Yes.
approve when the Mandarin Club has got their promotion and the 7th grade class has theirs and the 8th grade class has theirs and the 9th grade class has one and the Spanish club and
Those aren't, I
Those
think
are
they're outside
solicit
organizations and
charitable
groups.
donations. It doesn't say organizations, groups, etc. can solicit. It doesn't specify
Yeah, but I think
in
that's-
or out.
That's donation from district students on school property during regular school hours. I think this referred, I don't know if you can read it, Carol, but I would think this would refer to outside organizations or not. The Mandarin Club is of students. This is soliciting stuff from students, is what I'm
It's
saying.
under a heading labeled students. So-
Right, that's soliciting charitable funds from students.
if I may, so in the interest of time, why don't I noodle around with this and bring it back to the board?
And I think it needs to go back to legal, because I think it needs to be clear exactly what
Yeah.
they're asking.
Ms. Mummick and I already bring in another policy, so I can follow up with her. Let's move on to the next one, there's a couple here. Okay, the next one is 6130, evaluation of personnel. You see Erie one suggested changes.
This is a legal, is this to correspond to changes in the law? Or did they, yeah.
Um, I have them memorized, so I'm gonna look. Revised in light of changes in terminology.
So the APPR detail all got wiped out.
Well,
Mhm.
because APPR have come and they've gone and they're coming back, so
It's
I think it's
closure.
trying to be as generic as possible.
It's
to
an
be able-
approved document, so we would have to change it each time.
So they're trying to make it
So
general.
they're trying to make it generic, okay. Fine,
Instead of holding the policy to the specifics, and then every time we're having them.
right, and we wait 3 months to update.
And if people wanted details of the APPR, I'll just say next year when it's fully updated, it would be available for
Okay.
viewing on the website at some point, but not in the policy manual. Any other comments on this?
Yeah. The district, okay, under teachers and admin, the district is committed to supporting the development of effective teachers and admin. To this end, the district will provide procedures for the evaluation of all professional staff. To whom? There is no to whom. So my question is, to whom? The district will develop an APPR. plan, educator evaluation in accordance with applicable laws and regulations. The primary purposes of these evaluations are blah, blah, blah. And are we gonna make,
I would say
what?
change, the district will develop procedures for the evaluation of professional staff. Oh, no, but that's duplicating the sentence after that you just read. Will develop an annual.
I just wanna know it's to who? Are they providing procedures and sharing them with the board? Are they providing procedures and sharing them to the rest of the admin? Are you providing procedures and sharing them with the people you're evaluating?
I think it's taking, because we can provide it to all the above, so it's more of just that it's developed, that they would have developed and have available procedures.
Have
I
it
feel like
made
that
public?
sounds-
Is it procedures that are public? People, if I come as a parent and say, you know, how are my teachers evaluated? Is there a thing I can click that explains the evaluation process?
It's the APPR, like, one of which is the APPR, approved document.
So that's all I would add is to who.
Or could we consider
Or
removing the sentence, to this end, the district will provide procedures, because the sentence right after that kind of covers all of that.
I would just keep both, because APPR are for specific, are for teachers and principals, but we also have other
Evaluation
administrators and
of
other
professional
evaluations,
staff,
so I would just keep that sentence so it covers that.
Yeah.
That's my suggestion.
But my question is, we provide procedures to whom? Who sees the procedures? Is it that the board gets to see the procedures and know how everyone from certificated to non-certificated people are evaluated? Is it that the procedural part of it is made public? You know, how is I don't think I'm non-certified person. How is my child's, I don't know, who's evaluated?
Like a teaching aid or?
Teaching aid. How is my child teaching aid evaluated? I don't know. You know, do we wait to ask the principal? Or is that something that can just be made public? Like it's clear in Greenburgh, we do evaluations this way and this is how people are evaluated once a year. And
So you're thinking you want to post these things?
I don't know, I'm
in terms of
asking. It's a true
methodology?
question. I'm seriously wondering. Is it something that's just available to the board? Is it just available to the fellow people that do the evaluations? Is it available to the people that are getting evaluated? Or is it public? Yes.
You know, maybe the question is, the verb provide, is it implying make available to someone, or is it implying will have in place?
Exactly, it's develop and have in place. That's typically what,
Okay.
just have in place, readily available.
Develop.
It has it developed. So to this end, the district will have procedures,
Do you want to change the verb provide to develop?
or just have procedures.
Maintain, create procedure? Have seems so.
Have,
you know.
maintain.
Maintain.
You want a
Oh, I like
bigger
maintain. Maintain.
Yes.
I like that.
Okay, that makes me feel better. I can let go now. I'm like, who are we providing it to? Okay, anything
I'll
else?
just- I'll just say, in the past, they have been publicly available. I can't immediately find where.
Okay,
They're, I believe, when they're revised and approved, they're sent up to NICEAD. I don't know if it's on its publicly
It's publicly
available
available.
thing on NICEAD's
Yes.
database. I'd have to look. And I believe in the past, we probably had it on the website somewhere, but because we transfer data, it may or may not have been lost in the transfer, but we'll, I'm sure in tech, discuss with
I
Dr.
can
Duca
answer
where it
that,
could be
but
housed.
typically it is publicly available. I couldn't
Right.
answer whether or not it's exactly on, has it on the site.
Yeah, okay. Okay, and thank you. Any other comments? 6130. Okay, next one, 7440, student voter registration and pre-registration. Again, here's one updates.
Didn't have any comments.
Was revised in light of amendments to election law, section 5-507, which is in the reference section down there, which added language requiring districts to develop policies and procedures for providing access, blah, 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 blah.
okay, no comments. Let's go to the next one.
Okay, next one, 7512, student physicals. This just cleans up some language. Let me see
Is
what
there-
everyone said.
Is there a dentist
revised in light of amendments to public health law, which require district to blah, blah, blah. What was your question, trustee Warren?
There's no district dentist, the way there is a district doctor that will
No.
clean up after.
So, I really have an issue with this. I think I'm gonna have this issue with you, Carol, not that it's gonna be resolved. But is this saying that a student can pretty much be in our schools contagious with something and we can just send letters before the child is removed?
No.
But a child does not have to have a health certificate before starting school. They can
There's
start
a
school.
window of which they have to get it, yes.
So in that window, a child could be
Yes.
very ill in our care.
It's really not so much for an ill child as it is for an unvaccinated child. There's a window.
Okay,
I mean, if a child comes in sick, then
You send them home.
you would send that child home.
okay.
Because a health certificate has really nothing to do with, you know, a cold or the flu. That's not what it is.
When I say
It's
sick,
really
I mean
vaccinations.
ill with a major illness that would require vaccination, but okay. This is a little concerning, but.
These policies err on the side, the student wellness ones err on the side, and attendance, getting them into school.
Yeah. And I was surprised to learn, which I don't know if all the board members know, students can start school without having official documents for residency
Correct.
or obviously vaccinations. Just be in school. I'm here. And the length of time that, for that, do you know? Sorry.
It's short. It's a short window. I couldn't tell you the exact, it's like
But then
10
we have to
days or
send
something.
letters.
Yes.
Like, it's not like
Correct.
day 11, they are removed, they have to send letters.
You have to exclude them.
Right.
Any additional comments on 7512?
No.
Okay, next one, last one,
So-
7670, due process complaint, selection and board appointment of impartial hearing officers. This was revised in light of amendments to Education Law, Section 4404, and Commissioner of Education regulations.
We get in trouble after 196 days.
That's new.
Oh, shoot. All right. This last one.
I have one question. This seems to apply only to students with disabilities. Should
Yes.
the title of this reflect that?
It's under students, it's just under students.
Because the very first sentence is, the district will make every effort to amicably resolve disputes regarding educational programs for students with disabilities.
But what section is this in? 76?
It's in students, you're right, trustee Mears, President Mears. It's, I think if you were to flip through the policy manual, you'd see it's in that section. So,
See, the problem would be, it would likewise apply to a student who the district found was not eligible for special education, so they wouldn't be a student with a disability, but they may still request a due process hearing.
So does the first sentence exclude all the other students then?
76.
Read it again?
but it's disputes regarding educational programs
Yeah.
for
For
students.
students with
Right.
disabilities?
It says special education in our policy manual.
No, no, because, I mean, it is for students with disabilities. Disputes regarding, it's regarding educational programs for students with disabilities. So if your child was found not eligible, you would be disputing the educational program for students with disabilities, that your child was being excluded. So I'm still okay
So
with
this-
that.
How about regarding eligibility for educational
I think that-
programs?
Well, no, because it's not just eligibility.
It's for students with, so the 7,600,
Alleged.
7,600 policies appear to all
Fall
be
under-
specific, fall under students with
Yeah.
special designation of disability, special education. That's the whole section from 7610 all the way down through 7690, which ends in mediation. So it's a 7,600 thing.
What you could do is say due process complaints pursuant to the IDEA, that would cover you.
So it covers kids who weren't classified.
Correct.
And the parent.
Mhm.
Say that one more time, please.
Due process complaints pursuant to the IDEA, which is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act.
Trustee Jacobson?
Is there a particular reason why it's listed as a parent or person in parental relation rather than a legal guardian? Because I feel like parental relation can be a very loosely, non-legally binding term.
It may be a term that's used under the IDEA.
Is there a particular reason why we wouldn't use legal guardian though? I feel like that gives those people specifically, regardless of their like, to me, parental relation implies an emotional attachment, but that doesn't necessarily mean a legal responsibility.
Well, only a parent or a legal guardian could file a due process complaint.
Right,
Yeah.
so I don't know why it would be resolved with a person in parental relation. I'm just confused by the term.
Yeah, I agree.
Why it's there as
Yeah,
opposed to.
I would
legal
say,
guardian.
or legal guardian. I would change it.
Sounds like a plan, Stan. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
Just one quick thing.
Yes?
It's similar to the old policy. It does say to expedite this process, i.e. the appointment of the hearing officer, the board may designate one or more of its members to appoint the IHO on its behalf. There's no requirement in here saying that it will be formally followed up by resolution. Because it says, the old version said, or a letter signed by the president or vice president of the Board of Education. Do we want to require a
Is that during the
resolution?
summer?
There's no requirement for a letter. I don't know where that came from.
Well, that's the old version that's scratched out.
Your policy could be to follow with the resolution. I would recommend that, so that it's documented.
So I'm throwing that out there, board.
Can you
What?
say again where you are?
Sorry, on page 2 of 4, under the scratched out part that says appointment of hearing officer, first paragraph, the last sentence in red, to expedite the process, will designate one or more members to appoint the IHO on its behalf. Do we want to follow that up with a sentence saying a formal resolution will be,
To follow or something like that.
Yes.
to be followed by a formal resolution?
Sure.
Period. Okay. Okay.
Also, to follow up on my original
Yep.
question. Where it mentions parents otherwise, does it also need to say legal guardian? Because it mentions parents multiple times throughout it, say the location that is physically accessible to the parents in the district, a couple places, like information will be provided to the parents. I don't know if that's nitpicky or if it needs to be specific.
Well, you could, the first time you use the word parents, you could put in parens, including legal guardians, so you don't have to keep repeating it over and over again.
Including.
Okay, I think we need to move on. Is there anything else new, different? No? Okay. We're gonna have that. Yeah. Good catch. All right, is there anything else we need to update us on? The time is now 7:35. No?
No, for
No.
policy review? No,
Okay,
that's fine.
great. Let's move on. Next item on our agenda is reports and with comments for President's Report. So good evening, everyone. We're in our work session, so we're trying to get our work done tonight, 7:36. We're going to have a goal of 10 p.m. again. We've been meeting our goal. We are going to do it. We're going to do it. So I did want to talk to the community. We got an email last night about one of our students, Julia Samuels, to be the Lowell HUD Student of the Week. Everyone seemed to jump in and start voting and put Julia in second. She's now moved down to third. So everyone should get back online and start voting for Julia again. The poll closes tomorrow, so maybe we can get her up to first. That would be awesome. There are some college acceptances, for our graduating seniors. I could read to you really quickly. We have the University of Rochester, Westchester Community College, Pace University, Iona University, University of Buffalo, University of Hartford, Purdue University, Stony Brook University, University of New England, University of Buffalo, University of Massachusetts, Amherst, Massachusetts College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences, Mercy University, University at Buffalo, University at Albany, Hofstra, University of Mercy, University of Norfolk State University, Fashion Institute of Technology, Temple University, St. Thomas Aquinas College, Bowie State University, Pace University, Carnegie Mellon University, Harvard University, Temple University, Mercy University, Hampton University, Farmingdale State College, and Culinary Institute of America. So that's just some of the acceptances for college that we have. We will find out as time goes on as well how many of our students are going into any of the armed forces or any of the technical schools. So I just wanted to tell you all that you're doing a good job by supporting the administration as they get these kids through to graduation. Does anyone else want to share anything? No? Okay, great.
Could I make a request?
Sure.
For your next president's report or superintendent's report, could one of you please find out the number of scholarships that our students have been awarded?
Amount, yeah.
Amount.
Yeah.
I'll get that updated.
I haven't heard that number in a while.
I believe on the last messages,
But
since.
I know, for example, I haven't updated anyone on that, so I'm sure there'll be an updated amount.
Do you want to tell us?
We can be part of the aggregate.
Congratulations, you're officially going to be done with parenting in GCSD. Okay.
You were saying general. I was like,
No, it never ends. The job never ends. Are there any public comments, Ms. Pineda?
No public comment.
No, we're going to go into executive session. Can I get a motion, please?
I move that we adjourn to executive session to discuss collective bargaining negotiations, the employment history of particular persons, personnel matters under employee records, and matters deemed confidential by state or federal law, including seeking advice from counsel.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Is there any discussion? We do have discussion. I just remembered something that I'm so sorry. I just remembered something, and I spoke with Dr. Njoku, but I think publicly we should say, because it's a public item. That's the only reason why. Okay. I did get a message from a community member earlier this week, I guess yesterday maybe. Feels like 3 days have gone by already, but about the state of the equipment in the exercise room, the weight room, which the students do use, some of our athletes use. I don't know if they have a weightlifting class as well, but the community uses that. And so you're looking to Ms. Freeman. She's moving around. So do you want to share anything about the state of the equipment?
We know that it needs upgrading, and we have already planned with Mr. McCoy and Mr. Pugliese, and I have had conversations about replacing some of the equipment in there. And Mr. McCoy has a company that will come in and do an assessment of our equipment, see if anything can be repaired, needs to be replaced, and or upgraded. So we are in the process of doing our research on what to replace.
Excuse me. The person that spoke to me talked about, oh gosh, I'm gonna say this wrong, but like the use of, like the type of, and sent me pictures, the type of machines we have are more for like personal home use, not like the same type of machines that are in like a gym. I guess those are more, I would say, industrial use, like multiple people, constant use. The type of grade, are we getting
We're
that type
looking
of
into
grade?
getting better quality like are used in gyms.
Quality, yes.
Correct.
And so the company that is going to be brought in, does that go through some sort of bidding process? How do we find that company?
That's a good question. I'm not positive. I don't think there's a lot of companies out there that do that.
Okay.
If there are more than 2 or 3, then yes, we'd have to probably put an RFP or a bid out, or see if somebody is on IT data that can do that. But they'll come in and do a comprehensive fitness center equipment assessment.
And does that affect our insurance at all?
It probably would help our insurance coverage and rating.
Okay, does anybody have any questions, concerns, comments? Oh, last question, timeline. Is there a timeline for this? Or will this be something we're talking about in 3 weeks?
It's something that has been spoken about recently,
Okay.
I'd say within the last month. And it will
Okay.
continue probably ongoing through the summer, and hopefully by the time school starts, you'll be up and running.
Yes.
So it sounds like we own the equipment, it's not a lease?
Correct. No, it's not leased. We own it. And we have had people who have wanted to donate, I don't want my treadmill anymore, and we've declined those because of liability.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how other schools that do have gyms, that do have training, I want to say training center, not that we have a training center, but have training equipment for their students, their athletes. There's some schools that take athletics very seriously and they train those kids. So are those donated by a booster club? Are they bought by a booster club or a foundation? You know what I'm saying? How are those type of equipments in schools? Do we ever talk to
Well,
them?
I don't know, we'd have to do a survey
Yeah.
to see how they get their equipment, but I would almost think that if it's not by a booster club or a foundation, I would almost tell you that they're not accepting donations of used equipment.
Right.
But they probably have theirs, just like with computer equipment and what Mr. Pugliese has on a rotational cycle.
Okay.
And you just can't put a piece of equipment in there.
Right.
You've got to maintain it. You've got to,
Right.
hire a company like this to come in and do assessments
Mhm.
yearly, and almost kind of like, when this is the only thing I can think of, but they do this all the time. Like when they go and they certify the gas pumps, they put their little sticker on it, something like that, that they've come and certified.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, we're in the middle of a motion. So the motion is to go into executive session. Thank you for Ms. Raymond. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. We're now going into exec, 7:44 PM. Time. Good night, darling.
That was the one that was.
Thank you so much, Carol. Okay. The time is now 9:58. 1, 2, 3. I need one person to sit. And we're on. 9:58 PM. And we're back in executive session. Can I get a motion for personnel instructional items?
I move that we approve the instructional personnel items presented to the board for approval this evening.
Second.
Is I 6 unlocked?
It's going slow.
It's unlocked. Thank you. Second, it's been properly moved in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next, personnel non-instructional items.
I move that we approve the non-instructional personnel items presented to the board for approval this evening.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Item F3, board action items.
This includes item I6.
Yes.
I move that we approve the board action items presented to the board for approval this evening.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Item F 4, pupil personnel services items.
I move that we approve the pupil personnel services items presented to the board for approval this evening.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next, we're going to move ahead to items K, which are review agenda items for next meeting. K1, tenure approval. K2, appointments. K3, class advisors for elementary. K4, appointment of class advisors for secondary. K5, appointment of IB leaders. K6, PLC leaders. K7, PLC leaders in secondary. K8, minutes of board meetings. K9, policy approvals. K10, confirm annual district meeting results. K11, WISBA 25-26 budget. K12, WISBA Board of Education Director, Board of Directors. K13, donation, Little Tykes picnic table. K14, donation, new schools insurance reciprocal, nicer. K15, treasurer report. K16, warrant report. K17, certiorari settlements. K18, certiorari settlements. K19, certiorari settlements. K20, certiorari settlements. K21, certiorari settlements. 22, certiorari settlements. 23, certiorari settlements. 24, certiorari settlements. 25, certiorari settlements. 26, certiorari settlements. And 27, business contract. 28, business contracts. 29, business contract. 30, business contract. 31, health services contract. 32, health services contract. 33, a joint bid with P&W BOCES. And next we move on to closing items. Item L1, any new business? Hearing none, can I get a motion for adjournment, please?
I move we adjourn this meeting.
Second.
Is it properly moved and second? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Motion carries, 10:02 PM, good night. You would have made it before 10 if I didn't look at your books. All the yearbooks. Through us, yes?